Hey y'all, welcome back to Tress Talks. If you are new here, my name is Maxine Pittman. I am the owner and founder of Tress Obsessed. I will get into that in the video as well. If you are not new here and you are one of our subscribers, I want to thank you so much for subscribing. Thank you for watching all of our videos. I put in a lot of time and effort to shoot these videos, edit them, get them up on all of our social media channels. You can find us on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube as well. First, Tress Obsessed is my business. We carry over 60 different TSA-friendly travel sizes of ethnic hair care products, brands that you already know and love, like Talia Wajid, Shea Moisture, Vaseline, Luster's Pink Lotion. We carry Carol's Daughter, a ton of different types of products. And I wanted to get into this video. This is part 2 of a 3-part series. If you are interested in seeing part 1, or you want to know what we discussed in part 1, you can go back and look at that video. I will link it as well. In this video, so rewind a second. So going back to part 1, in part 1, I discussed all the different ways that you can get your business into an airport. So if you have a small business, if you have a store and you're looking to maybe expand your business and get yourself in front of a bigger audience or a bigger pool of customers, and you have been looking at or eyeing airports, I went over all the different ways that you can try to get your business into an airport. So if you're interested in that, I won't be going over that at all in this video. I'll link, like I said, I'll link that video in the down in the comments, or I'll link it here and put it here in the video for you to click that link. So back to part 2. So this is part 2, and I really wanted to emphasize in part 2 what what the real and raw costs are, because I feel like people can juggle around the idea of like, dang, it would be great for me to put my business in an airport, or, oh, I have a coffee shop and I'd love to get my coffee brand in front of more customers at this airport or this airport, etc. And you might have been thinking about something like this, but you can't really make an executive decision until you really know the real costs that go into it. So if you see me looking down, I have some notes here I'm going to go over all of the costs and what each cost means, and kind of, just highlight what that means for your business and what it means for a contract with the airport overall. So I'll go over each one. So if you see me looking down, it's just that I'm looking at my notes. The first thing that I will say, and I'll make sure that I kind of put the costs here to the side of me so that you guys can start, adding them up and calculating and seeing like what each cost is. And what I'm going to first say is the airports run just like an outside corporation. So I think sometimes people think like, oh, the airports, they are run federally. They're regulated federally, by the government, or by the city or by the county. Absolutely. But airports run just like a corporation. And when I say that, I want you to understand that a lot of the issues, or maybe some, not necessarily issues, but sometimes a lot of the red tape or boundaries that you may run into operating with corporations or partnering with corporations, or some of the issues that you might find on the street, you may find those same things in an airport if you want to operate your business in an airport. So what I will first say, and I did want to say, if you guys like this content, go ahead and subscribe, follow our channel, subscribe to our channel. And we love the support, and I can continue to make more videos like this if you like this. So what I'm going to say first is a MAG. Now, a MAG, and I'll put the definition up here. A MAG stands for, it's M like Mary, A like Apple, G like George. MAG. And that is an acronym to mean minimum annual guarantee. And that, you're probably saying to yourself, like, what does that mean? MAG, minimum annual guarantee. What does that mean? MAG is just a special word that airports use, which just basically means rent. So what airports will do is they will set a certain amount that will be your MAG for the entire contract. And they'll say, this is how much money you have to pay us for the year. And sometimes that is equal to a percentage of your gross sales every month, and sometimes it is equal to a certain amount that they just arbitrarily choose depending on how big your business is or what your price point is or how much they think that you are going to sell of your product or your service. So sometimes, and you can negotiate this if you choose to. Some people that have been with the airports a long time will only have maybe a 5% MAG, meaning they only have to give the airport 5% of their gross sales. If you are a newer business coming in and the airport doesn't really know you, they don't know how much you're going to sell, and they're kind of iffy on like if they'll be able to make money from your business being in the airport, they might ask you for a higher amount, let's say 15 or 20% of your gross sales for the month. So each month for the year. So that's what a MAG is. I know when we were doing the airport negotiations, mind you, we are currently still in negotiations right now with an international airport. I'm not going to say which airport it is because we do want to keep there is a certain level of confidentiality, and also depending on how the contract goes or how the negotiations go, we want to make sure that we keep a professional relationship with them moving forward in the future. So I'm not going to say what airport it is, but it is an international airport, and they have 75, 80 million passengers a year or more. So you can guess, you can try to maybe drop your guesses down in the comments, and I may or may not confirm if you're correct on your guess. But the airport that we are in negotiations with right now, they are getting anywhere between 100 to 200,000 people coming through that airport every day. So as you can imagine, that's a lot of people to get your business in front of. So it's a huge opportunity. And usually what they will do, so typically, and anyone who knows our business or has been following us for a while, you guys know that we do vending machines. So we do travel size hair care in a vending machine model. But for this airport in particular, some airports will not allow you to have your business. Let's say that you have a coffee shop, right? And you're used to operating as a coffee shop, but you go and try to get your business into the airport, and the airport says, well, you know, we don't have space for a coffee shop right now. But what we can do is we can let you sublease a corner inside of this restaurant, and that restaurant might be like a bakery. So, bakery, they sell pastries, and what do people usually buy with pastries? They buy coffee. So they might pair you up with someone who sells complimentary products to you so that you'll still be in the vicinity of where the customers are, and you'll still have an opportunity to get in front of those customers. And you might say to yourself, well, I started my business as a coffee shop. I want to stay as a coffee shop. Well, guess what? When you have big opportunities with airports, and you have the opportunity to get your business in front of 40, 50, 95 million people, you are going to have to bend and be flexible as to how you offer your services or your products. And that's just the way it is. Now, for us in particular, we offer our business as a vending machine model. But with this airport, they were like, we don't do vending machines unless it's food or snacks or sodas, etc. So they offered to allow us to do a kiosk model. So that will, if you are offered that type of opportunity, that will severely increase your overhead. And when I say that, I mean to say that if I just have my vending machine in an airport, I only have to pay one person to go and check the machine 2 or 3 times a week, fill the machine, etc. When I have a kiosk, I have to have 3, 4, 5 people there every single day sitting at that kiosk, and paying them an hourly wage or a salary, however you want to pay them, to take care of our customers, ring people up, discuss products with them, sell stuff, etc. Just like a regular store. So that is going to have a huge effect on, what we, how we run our business and what our expenses are. So keep that in mind. The next thing that you have to pay for is something called auxiliary fees. This is just a fancy word for like trash and electricity. So this could be anywhere between $100, sometimes it's $50. It's not a lot of money, but it adds up. So you have to factor that in as well. Now our labor Because like I was saying, if we're going to have a kiosk, we have to hire people. And not only do you have to hire these people, the airport wants to make as much money as possible. Just like you, if you're going to put your time and effort and money into investing into building your business out in the airport, you want to make money too. So the way that the airport does this is when they tell you, hey, we need you to hire 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 people for this kiosk or this restaurant or this coffee shop, they also want to make sure that you are training those people in customer service and in sales excellence. Why? Because number one, they want to make sure that their passengers are being treated well when they come into the airport. They know that passengers are spending a lot of money, not only on flights, but people spend a lot of money on different things that they buy in the airport. So they want to make sure that whatever people you hire are treating those customers well. And then they also want you training them in sales excellence, because when somebody comes up to, let's say somebody came up to my kiosk and said, hey, I just want a travel size shampoo. You should be able to train people well enough to say, oh, you need a travel size shampoo? Okay, well then maybe you should get the conditioner with that and be able to upsell and cross sell different things so that there is a larger cart amount that people are purchasing. Because in the long run, that adds up to a lot more money of products that are being sold, services that are being sold, and more money that you are making as a business owner, and more money that the airport is making as the bottom line. So keep that in mind as well. Usually with the labor, you will have to check with the airport to say, okay, what is the minimum wage in this city or this county? And then you will have to hire based on the minimum wage. And you will decide if you want to, how many people you want to hire part-time, how many people you want to hire full-time. But the airport will say, hey, we need you to have these people here. And the airport is not open 9 to 5, like banking hours or like regular corporate America hours. They are, they want your kiosk or booth or vending machine or your business, your store, to be open 2 hours before the first flight leaves in the morning and staying open for 2 hours after the last flight leaves for the day. So sometimes that means that you and the people that you hire have to open your kiosk or your store or whatever at 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, sometimes 7 o'clock in the morning. And you have to stay open until 11 p.m. sometimes, midnight sometimes. So that's what, 18 hours, sometimes 16 hours a day that you have to keep this running. So that is another thing to keep into consideration. Also, business insurance. So we currently have business insurance, and we're paying somewhere around like $1,500, $1,700 for a year, for the whole year, for our business insurance. And that covers our vending machines, that covers our employees, that covers our office equipment, all that kind of stuff. Now, because the airport is servicing millions of people, they want to make sure that the business insurance you have is like armor, is like, is 100% covered. You're 100% covered on everything. So I say that to say that the airport will give you a certain amount, like, hey, you need to have $1 million worth of coverage. And you have to go back to your business insurance, the company that covers you for your business insurance, and say, hey, can I get a quote on if I have this amount of coverage? And then they'll give you a quote. I think ours came out to like $3,500 for the year. So our insurance went up because of that. Also, you have to look into city and state taxes. City and state taxes could be, anywhere between 7 to 10%. It just depends on what state you live in. And this state in particular, I think the state taxes were like 9.5% or something like that. So you have to factor that into how you are pricing your products and services as well, because they're going to collect as well for that. I know in Texas where I live, they charge a certain tax depending on the city that you live in. And then they also charge a second tax for the county that you live in. So you get double taxed. So keep that in mind and do your research and check with the airport officials as well. And they'll tell you, how much the state and city taxes are. Let's get into general business expenses. Now, this could be different for everyone, because if you're running your business outside of the airport and let's say you have expenses for your website, you have expenses for different apps that you use to create videos or to edit videos for social media, or if you're paying other employees at other locations, all of those expenses need to be factored in. And all of those expenses need to be allocated. If you have multiple locations, you need to allocate expenses for each location. Or if the airport location is the first location that you have, then you need to factor those expenses into how much you need to make. And you need to have a certain number in your head to say, okay, we need to make this amount per day so that we will make sure that we are making this amount per month to cover these expenses. And then also have money left over as profit to make a profit. So you need to keep that in mind as well. Now, lodging and food. This is going to be different for everyone, because if you are someone who, let's say that you live in Milwaukee. I'm just bringing up a random city. Let's say you live in Milwaukee and you say to yourself, oh, I want to get into the airport in this area. Let's say it's a small airport. They only have 30 million passengers, right? Or 10 million or 15 million passengers, right? And it's kind of on the smaller side, because a lot of these international airports have 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, sometimes 100 million passengers a year. So when I say 15 million, people are like, 15 million, that's a lot of people, but that's a smaller, like medium-sized airport compared to a lot of the larger international airports. So if you want to get into that airport and you say, hey, you know what, I just want to get into this small or medium-sized airport in the city that I live in, it's going to be easier for you because you live in the city. You can take, if you're juggling a full-time job with your small business, you can take time off to, go to the airport, train the people in your space, train the people that you hire, make sure that you're trained as well, and get everything set up for the kiosk or store or whatever it is that you're setting up. Now, if you get an airport opportunity in an airport in a state that you don't live in, then all of a sudden it becomes, okay, I'm going to have to take the next 3 or 4 months to uproot my life to another city in a state that I don't live in, and you're going to have to pay for a hotel. You're going to have to pay for food. If you have family or friends that live in that city, you may be able to stay with them for that amount of time while you're setting up your kiosk or your restaurant or your store and getting your people hired and getting signs put up and, getting everything put in place so that your business is running smoothly in the airport. And that takes a good 3 or 4 months that you want to be there for that. That is another cost that you have to factor in. Lodging, food, if you got to get a rental car, all of that stuff gets factored in as well. Also, if you are someone, this is something that some people don't think about. If you're someone who gets a business loan to fund and finance all this venture in the airport, that's another thing that you have to factor into your expenses, because whether you have an investor or whether you get a loan from a bank, if you get lucky and get a grant that's large enough, then you don't have to worry about paying it back. But if you're with an investor or you get a business loan, they're going to want that money back, and they're going to want that money back in a certain amount of time, whether your business is making money in the airport or not. So typically, I know for me, I was going to use an investor, and we have that option on the table, luckily, so I don't have to deal with a business loan and deal with the bank and your credit unions or whatever. But that was going to be another added expense, another couple $1,000, $3,000, $4,000 a month that I would have to pay every month to pay that loan back within a certain amount of time to my investor. So that is something that we added on as an expense as well. So when you add up all of those expenses, I know for us, when we talk about a kiosk, this kiosk is only 700 to 900 square feet. It's a very small kiosk. But people who have restaurants or stores, and let's say you have a 5,000, 10,000, 15,000 square foot restaurant or a store where you sell, books and newspapers and magazines and I say that to say, our venture would have been on the smaller side, meaning would have costed us anywhere between $150,000 to $200,000 during, the time of our contract. There are people who I know who have to get loans that are in the millions, $1 million, $2 million loan, or get an investor that has that money for them because they are running a store where they got 10 employees in the airport. Or 7 employees. And even if you look at going back to what I said about labor, if we decide to move forward with this airport contract, it's going to cost us just in labor. And I'm not talking about business insurance. I'm not talking about rent fees. I'm not talking about anything like that. I'm not talking about trash, electricity, none of that. I'm only talking about how much we would have to pay our employees. That would cost us at least $9,000 a month alone. And we still have not factored in inventory. I know for us, because we're selling travel size hair care products, like I'll show you guys an example. These are the size of our products. I mean, we're charging anywhere between $8 up to $19 for travel size products. There are people who are charging $50, $60, $70, $80, $100 per product, whatever they're selling, whether it be, apparel, clothing, massages, whatever they're selling in the airport. It's expensive and it has a high price point. For us, we're just selling travel size hair care. And we would be doing at the amount of product that we would be moving every week, every month in the airport, we are probably going to be paying anywhere between $10,000 to $15,000 a month to restock all of our inventory as people purchase and as it moves in and out of our kiosk. So labor and inventory are going to be the two largest expenses that you have usually, depending on what you sell, what service you offer, and how big your space is going to be in the airport. Now, with us, we are going through a program for small businesses to get into the airport. And there is also a startup fee. I know with the other different ways that you can get into the airport, and again, I go over that in part 1, there won't be a startup fee, but there may be other fees. And you want to make sure that you are you want to make sure that you are getting with a lawyer who is going to read your contract, because although the airports do want to work with you, they are there to make money, and they want to make sure that you are in the airport to make money for them. So they are looking out for their best interests. There are programs for veterans, for Black women, for Latinas, for disabled people, that help you with figuring out all of the ins and outs and the contracts and all that. But you ultimately want to make sure that you are having a lawyer look over that contract, and you want to make sure you are going through every single expense with a fine-tooth comb to make sure, okay, is this doable for us? Is this going to be beneficial for us? And I think people think like, oh, if your business let's say you sell hot dogs, right? And you sell them like out of a cart on the side of, let's say you sell hot dogs in a parking lot outside of a baseball stadium. And then all of a sudden you get an opportunity to sell your hot dogs in like a legitimate hot dog stand in the airport. People who don't know business and have never owned a business are automatically going to think, wow, you're in an airport now? You're in front of millions of people every day? They immediately think you're going to make money. There are businesses every day that do not make money in the airport. When you see those signs where the airport's like, blah, 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 under construction, we have a new business coming soon, it's because another business was in that space and didn't make any money and they had to move them out. So there's going to be a lot of things that are factors. Number one, if you decide that you're going to do this, you want to make sure that you're in a terminal where where your customers are in that terminal. If you are someone who has a business and you're trying to get it into the airport, it can be a tremendous opportunity, but you have to make sure that you are looking at all angles and all aspects, because bad opportunities with the airport do exist. Bad opportunities in business do exist. So like I was saying before, if there are certain questions you guys have, drop them in the comments. Please subscribe to the channel. And if you want to see more videos like this, definitely let me know. And we hope that you'll stay for part 3. In part 3, I will be going over what our decision will be with this airport contract, how long the contract will be, and how we will be moving forward. So wish us luck. And if you are interested, you can definitely follow us on TikTok, Instagram, check out our business, Beauty Vending Business Academy. If you're somebody who is starting out in beauty vending and you are looking for a mentor or someone who's already done it, I've been running this business for almost 5 years, and I've been in a ton of different venues. So we do have a e-course. We also have digital templates with vendor lists, checklists, and templates that you can use if you are just looking for some guidance. We have a consultation option as well. So I'll put that and link those down in the comment section, in the caption. And thanks for supporting. And we look forward to seeing you in the third video. Thanks so much.